I know it's very tempting, enticing even, to have a set of notes that are wonderfully organized. Everything is where you want it to be. Beautiful set of notebooks, folders, whatever they're called in your notes app. And yes, it's just a wonderful thing to aspire to. The trouble is, to get all those things, all your notes organized in such a way is going to take time, a lot of time. Particularly if you're like me, you've been using a notes app since 2009, that's about 16 years now, you're going to have collected a lot of stuff. The thing is, if you want to set your notes organized beautifully and set up so that they look great when you show people, that's going to take a lot of maintenance. Maintenance that really, or time I should say, maintenance time that really should be spent on doing other things, more important things. So today I want to go through a few little things that hopefully will pull you away from having all your notes beautifully organized and actually getting them more functional so you can find what you need when you need it in less than 2 or 3 seconds. Now, first up is do have some kind of structure. It's no good just randomly throwing all these notes into an inbox of sorts and hoping that you're going to find what you need. That doesn't actually help you. Now, I know this might be a little contrary to what I've just said, but hear me out. Having some kind of basic structure at least gives you a place to go looking randomly if you cannot remember a keyword, a title, a date range, or anything else that you might need to be able to find your notes. So do have some kind of structure. Now, the structure that I use is something I called GAPRA. It's based on Tiago Forte's Para, just that Tiago treats areas of focus, if you like, a little bit differently to the way that I do. Plus, for me, I am a very goals-orientated person, so my goals need to be at the top, because if I'm randomly going through my notes, that's where I want to start. So I have a GAPRA. GAPRA stands for Goals, Areas of Focus, Projects, Resources, and Archive. Now, my archive is the catch-all for everything. Anything that I don't need immediately or isn't something I'm going to use as reference, it gets thrown into archive. One day I might need it, and the way that Evernote, which is the notes app I use, operates, you don't actually have a total limit. You get a monthly limit of, I think for me it's 20 gigabytes, and I've never come close to that anyway. And it just works perfectly. So I can throw stuff in there for perpetuity, I think is the word I was looking for, but it's going to be there forever, and just in case I ever need it, I can find it. So do have some kind of structure. Doesn't really matter. You could just have simple structure like home and work, or you could have hobbies, goals, whatever you want to do, but do have some kind of structure so you do have a way to go in and find the notes that you just don't have any idea what it is. You just know it's there somewhere. Next up is give your notes a proper title. Now, quite often if you're using templates, and I know Evernote does templates, and I know a lot of other notes apps allow you to create templates, you might just have a title called meeting, and then you might have the date. So you might have meeting and then the date. That's not going to help you in 6 months' time or 10 months' time to find that note. It doesn't give you enough information. Make sure that the title has the right title. So, for example, a few years ago, when I was publishing my book, I had Meetings with Phil. Phil was the name of my publisher, and that was the title of the note, Meetings with Phil. I wasn't working with anyone else at the time called Phil, but even if I was, it's unlikely I'm going to be working with hundreds of people called Phil. It would be very weird if I was, and so it would be very easy to find that note. It meant that all I needed to search for was the name Phil, and that note would be at the top of my search results list. So give it a proper name. For example, if you're a team manager and you have a weekly team meeting, it could be weekly team meeting, because that's a very easy term to search for, which means that you can get into that note in less than a second. So be very strict about how you're titling your notes. Now, while the vast majority of us are not working on projects, we're not project managers. If you do work with projects, then I would suggest that you create a table for linking all your notes together. Now, pretty much all notes apps allow you to do something called backlinking. So Obsidian is one that does backlinking very well. Notion does backlinking, Evernote does backlinking, and so does Apple Notes. So it doesn't really matter what notes app you're using, but you can create a table to list out all the projects that you're working on. Now, the caveat here is most of us are not working on projects. We're doing our job. A customer, if you're working sales, for example, an individual client or customer is not a project. It's just part of what you do. It's your job. They are customers. Be very careful about how you define projects. If you use the getting things done that anything that's 2 steps or more is a project, you're going to have hundreds of projects to review, to update. It's time consuming, and it's not really that important. What you need to do is look for the processes of your work, and I've done a few videos on this. Look for the process of your work and turn as many of these things that you would perhaps call a project into a process. So anything that you're repeatedly doing, like onboarding a customer or onboarding an employee if you're in HR, they're not projects, they are just what you do. It's your job. So therefore, it's a process. If you're a project manager, on the other hand, managing multiple different projects, then sure, have a very deep and meaningful project notebook or folder. But for the most of us, we're not working with projects. I think if I add up my projects, I mean, I run my own business. If I think of the projects that I do per year, I have probably about 4 or 5, but no more than that. Everything else is really a process and doesn't need a long project note or list. So make sure that you have a table that you can quickly go to that shows you what projects you have on at the moment so that you've got quick access to them if you need them. And the big one, learn your keyboard shortcuts. Now, I use Evernote, which has a number of ways to actually search for notes. You can actually do... Now, I use an Apple computer. I don't know the Windows version of the search, but you can look them up. Evernote has a whole list of their keyboard shortcuts. But on the Mac, all you need to do is Command J when you're in Evernote and type in what you're looking for, and it will give you a list of stuff that you're looking for. Alternatively, you can go Shift Command K, which brings up the search box, and then you can actually access the AI features, which I've not actually used. But if you're looking for some notes that perhaps you created 10 years ago, maybe AI is going to help you there and you can use that feature. I just use the normal because I know that my titles are very clear. But this way it means that I can keep the sidebar closed because I don't need to go looking into my notebooks and individual notes for anything. All I need to do is type in a name, a date range, a keyword, and bang, I've found what I'm looking for. So really find those keyboard shortcuts. In Apple Notes, I think if I remember correctly, it's Shift Command F. That will take you, it'll put the cursor in the search box and you can search for whatever you want. Search is powerful. It's how computers are developing. That search is getting better and better and better. You're not going to be able to find anything faster than the computer itself. That's where computers really do help you, by searching your stuff and you will find it. Please just learn the keyboard shortcuts for search. It'll save you so much time. So that's the next thing, is learn how to search your notes. Ultimately, your notes are there to serve you. You don't have to have them beautifully organized. Just to give you an example, I throw a lot of stuff into my inbox and I generally clear that inbox every 2 or 3 months. The reason being is nothing urgent is going to be in my notes. Once it's collected, whether it's in my inbox or whether it's in a folder like resources or my client lists or anything else like that, it's always searchable. I can get to it within less than a second in most cases. particularly when I'm very clear about what I'm searching for. So get your search criteria right. That means make sure you're giving your notes a title. If you're throwing in random web pages, before you hit save, just check the title so that it's something that you will actually look for. One of my classic ones is I buy my socks from a company in the UK. I can never remember its name. Now, I have looked it up just before doing this video, so I know it's Pepper Harrow or Harrow Pepper. Anyway, I can't remember the name of the company. But what I do know is when I do need to buy new socks, all I need to do is go into Evernote, type in socks, and Pepper Harrow is right there, and I can order my socks. So once or twice a year, that's what I do. I order socks from Pepper Harrow or Harrow Pepper. I can never remember. Anyway, it's there, and I can actually go in and just search for that. So there are keywords there rather than the name of the company. There are other companies that I buy stuff from. I can often, because it's so rare that I buy things from them, I never actually remember their name, but I can type in bags, or I can type in shoes or sweaters, jumpers as I would call them. Whatever I'm looking for, I can find them by just typing in the item that I'm looking for because the keyword is there. So make sure you're pretty smart on the keywords and put them in at least the top so you know what you're looking for, or perhaps, preferably, the title. So there you go. This is something that keeps coming up in my coaching programs where people say, I really would like to get my notes organized. But often we are thinking about having these beautifully designed notes, which realistically is never going to happen because you're actually doing different projects, meetings, dumping stuff in there. That's what a notes app is supposed to do. If you think about it, a notes app is just an extension or an evolution of what we used to do with notebooks, and we would just scribble random stuff in there and perhaps index it if we were good by putting a good title at the top. Well, we need to follow the same principles digitally. Make sure the title's good. Learn how to do search on whatever app you're using, and don't organize your notes because it's just a waste of time. Hopefully that's given you some ideas about what you can do with your notes. Thank you very much for watching. And if you want to learn more about GAPRA, then this video up here is the one to watch next.